There is so much that these progressives have done that it's mind-boggling. Edward Bernays, we're going to do a special on him. We're actually preparing a documentary for Insider Extreme, and then we're also going to do something on television about Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays is somebody that everyone in America should know his name, because Edward Bernays is the reason we celebrate Christmas the way we do. Edward Bernays is the reason why all cars aren't black. Henry Ford, every car came off, you can have a car any color you want as long as it's black. The idea with Henry Ford, what his idea originally was we're going to build a great car, and you buy one car, and you can have all the parts, and they'll be replaceable, and you'll have one car for the rest of your life. But what happened? I've asked that question many times. What happened? How did it change? Why did he all of a sudden change? Edward Bernays. In the Wilson administration, this is the guy who helped package the League of Nations. He's the guy who helped package World War II. He's written books, How We Sold America, World War I, How We Sold America. One of his books is On Propaganda. He's the guy that the Germans, the Nazis, Goebbels, in his office, he had a Bernays book on propaganda. Goebbels, in his own diary, says he learned propaganda from Edward Bernays.
He also made filet mignon a little bit tastier. When you dip it in the Bernays sauce.
I don't think he was the guy that did the...
Kind of changes. There's a certain je ne sais quoi.
I don't think that's the
really good.
Same guy.
Same guy.
Do your homework on that
All
one.
right, I'm looking it up.
Bernays is a fascinating guy. His cousin was Sigmund Freud. And so this is the age when psychoanalysis started. And remember, when Freud first started, it was basically everyone wants to have sex with their mother or something. I think that's what his idea was. And everything was sexual in nature. And in Germany, when Freud first started, it was crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. And then it became very, very popular and became all the rage, especially in the elite circles. Welcome Edward Bernays and the progressive movement. They used to vacation together. And so here's a guy who knows propaganda, learning from a psycho, well, we could just leave it at that, a psycho, learning it from a guy who is developing psychotherapy and believes everything is sexual in nature. And they would go on vacation, and they would share ideas. And he was an ad man. So now you start to see our ads become more and more sexual. And everything becomes more and more sexual in nature. It's the suffrage movement. At the time of the suffrage movement, under Wilson, Bernays is working for the government, but he's also an ad man. And the women's suffrage movement is happening, and suffragettes need to be this independent woman. But at the time, an independent woman wasn't exactly sexy. It wasn't something that the guys wanted. They were like, oh, geez, you want to live with, Pat Ireland? I don't think so. Somebody who's, Patricia Ireland, women need a man as much as a fish needs a bicycle. That was kind of the image of the suffragette at the very beginning. Well, Bernays is approached by the tobacco industry. And the tobacco industry needs to sell tobacco. They need to sell cigarettes. But cigarettes are not popular. It's uncouth, especially for a woman. Bernays takes a vacation with Sigmund Freud, his cousin. And he says, I got a client, they want me to sell tobacco. I don't know if I'm going to take him on. And Sigmund Freud says, well, the cigarette, the mouth of a woman, is a phallic symbol. And that is quite a turn on for men, Is
that your George Soros voice? Is that what that is?
Have you seen Sigmund Freud and George Soros at a party together? I think not. And so he sees this. He calls the tobacco company and says, I'm in. Suffragette movement is going on. Edward Bernays says, I love you suffragettes. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you from coast to coast. And here's what we're going to do. Ladies, I want you to take this pack of cigarettes, and I want you to put this underneath your dress, and I want you to put this in your garter belt. And I want you to keep a pack of cigarettes and a pack of matches right there in your garter belt. And you keep it there on your leg. Now, I'm going to help this suffragette up there, because I'm going to help her win independence and the right to vote for women, because I am so with you, ladies. And I'm going to write this, and in this key phrase, when that woman is speaking, and she's talking about Lady Liberty, I want you to reach down, and I want you to lift up your skirt to your garter belt, and I want you to get that cigarette out, and I want you to put it in your mouth, and I want you to light that cigarette. And he arranged for press all over to come because something amazing was going to happen. And so in that key moment, all the suffragettes in the audience, they reached underneath their skirt, provocative. They take this phallic symbol of a cigarette. They light it up. This is something that is not cool for a woman to do. This is very uncouth for a woman, but now he's introduced the sexual nature, going under her skirt and getting it from her garter belt and putting it in their mouth and lighting it. And then he takes sex at the opportune moment and turns it into patriotism. As they all take the cigarette from their mouth and hold it straight up as the flame of liberty, like Lady Liberty. And that picture is carried coast to coast, and the cigarette becomes a symbol of women's freedom. That's the beginning of how we got women to start smoking. And it was twisted from big business, ad man, propaganda, Woodrow Wilson cohort, twisted into politics and patriotism and woven together. He then went to Hollywood and made sure that everybody was smoking and make sure that it all looked great. It is Woodrow Wilson. It is Edward Bernays. And they have laid these things out, and they've done them so cleverly. And they have done them with psychoanalysis. They've done them with psychotherapy. They've studied the way people react. We've been guinea pigs. We've been played. Now, when you look at this administration, and you look at Cass Sunstein, who's Cass Sunstein? Yes, he is. Why is he most dangerous man in America? What is he? What is his book called? Nudge. Why? It's nudge. It is psychotherapy. You push people this way and they'll react that way. Do you know that the President of the United States has a council of psychotherapists? They're doing it again. They're doing it again. We're being played, and we have been played for 100 years. It's time to pull the curtain down and say, we're on to you. We're not stupid. You know why they think we're stupid? They think we're stupid because they've been playing us for 100 years. But once we know the history of how they've played us, once we know our own history, once you start pulling on that Edward Bernays string, and it all comes undone. And once you start pulling on it, then you're like, oh, please, I know exactly what you're doing. Really? I want the French fries behind the carrots. Thanks.